Ever since the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus has landed in our office, we've been itching to test out the Exynos 9820 chip inside the phone. Yes, you get only the Exynos 9820 variant in India and you don't get the Snapdragon 855 variant, which we would have ideally loved to test, but we'll take what we get. Hi, I'm Ershad from Mr. Phone, and in this video, we're going to be comparing the Exynos 9820 inside the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus against the Kirin 980, which comes with the Mate 20 Pro, and the A12 Bionic that powers the iPhone XS Max. So let's get the first flagship SoC battle of 2019 started. But before we move on, if you want to see more Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon right next to it to get notified whenever Mr. Phone puts out an awesome new tech video. Before we move on, let's quickly take a look at the breakdown of the cores inside the three SoCs. You can take a look at the differences. Firstly, the major differences between the three are twofold. Firstly, the 9820 is based on an 8nm fabrication process compared to the smaller 7nm die used by the Apple's A12 Bionic and the Kirin 980. Secondly, the A12 Bionic has a 6-core chipset configuration and the other two have octa-core configs. Okay, let's get down to the scores. First, we ran Antutu on the phones. In order to maintain parity between the three phones, we dropped the resolution to FHD Plus on the Mate 20 Pro and the S10 Plus. Almost all of us here at Mr. Phone actually expected the iPhone XS Max to lead the scoring, but we were pleasantly surprised. The S10 Plus and the Exynos 9820 inside it actually beat the iPhone XS Max and the Mate 20 Pro. It scored close to 6,000 points more than the XS Max in our scoring. The Kirin 980 scored 2,73,022 points, which is actually lower than even what the Snapdragon 845 can achieve. So we also decided to take a deeper look at the breakdown of the scores and where and how exactly did the S10 Plus take the lead. Samsung's homegrown flagship chipset actually takes a tiny lead in GPU, UX and memory subscores. To think that the Mali G76 MP12 is actually more powerful than Apple's custom GPU is really surprising. Only if Android game manufacturers would push the limits of this chipset. Having said that, the A12 Bionic still has a comfortable lead in CPU scores, and that leads us organically to the next section. Coming to one of the most trustworthy benchmarks out there, the Geekbench test. The iPhone XS Max comfortably beats the competition in the multi-core test. Like you can see on your screen, the A12 Bionic has a healthy lead of approximately 1,500 points over the other two. The XS Max takes a lead over Huawei and Samsung SoCs in the single-core test too. So as far as pure CPU performance is concerned, the A12 Bionic is still your best bet. That said, the comfortable lead is dwindling slowly. We can't wait to see how Snapdragon 855 affects the scoring and if it manages to trouble the A12 Bionic. One of the most important hardware inside your smartphone is your storage. Faster flash storage inside phones aids in faster app load times too. And the iPhone XS Max just decimates the competition. Just a point of note here, AndroBench is a test we use to find out the read-write speed for Android phones, and this test is not available for the iPhone. We used an alternative benchmarking tool called Performance Test. So keep that disclaimer in mind while looking at the scores. Regardless, it is safe to assume that the iPhone offers better storage performance because of the SSD inside it. The other two phones use UFS 2.1 flash storage. The SSD inside the iPhone has a read speed of 1634 MB per second and a write speed of 259 MB per second. This is way higher than the read speed of 904.05 MB per second and 778.06 MB per second achieved by the Mate 20 Pro and the Galaxy S10 Plus respectively. The write speeds were also considerably on the Mate 20 Pro and the Galaxy S10 Plus. One of our favorite benchmark tests for gauging the gaming performance in real-world scenarios is the Geekbench test. We shall add a link to download the app in the description below. For the purpose of this test, we played PUBG for 20 minutes and we set the graphics to smooth and the FPS setting to extreme. This helps the phones touch 60 FPS while gaming. We also set anti-aliasing on and set the auto graphics to off to ensure that there is no throttling of FPS in case it fluctuates a lot. At the end of the test, on the Mate 20 Pro, we got a median score of 60 FPS and an FPS stability of 92%. The phone also touched a max of 40 degrees after the 20-minute session. And finally, the Mate 20 Pro used an average of 949 MB of random access memory. In comparison, the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus had lower median FPS of 56. Looks like Huawei's GPU Turbo truly improves gaming performance. In fact, I could actually see some frame drops on the S10 Plus. That said, the S10 Plus reached a peak battery temperature of 38.5 degrees, which means that the liquid cooling is definitely helping in keeping the device temperature under check. In fact, even when I pushed the phone to its limit in daily usage, I did notice a considerable rise in temperature on the S10 Plus. This is great news for Samsung fans. Interestingly, the S10 Plus also uses fewer RAM resources. Gamebench reported an average 649 MB of RAM usage on the S10 Plus, so that's great too. Unfortunately, Gamebench doesn't offer temperature details for the iPhone, but I can say this with a fair level of certainty that it doesn't heat up as much as the Mate 20 Pro or even the S10 Plus after a 20-minute session. Anyway, the iPhone XS Max had a median score of 59 FPS and an FPS stability of 97%, which is the highest of all the three phones. The most interesting observation from the Gamebench score is that the XS Max used only 455 MB of average RAM for the whole session. Evidently, RAM performance is still well optimized on the iPhone compared to an Android. In summary, the Mate 20 Pro offers the best median FPS performance, but it does heat up a lot. On the other hand, the S10 Plus, despite the great benchmark numbers that we got earlier, doesn't deliver in real-world gaming. The iPhone XS Max could possibly still be the best phone for gaming thanks to the fact that it has an incredible FPS stability and it doesn't heat up too much either. Not to forget, the roster of games on iOS is also much larger. So we've come to the end of this comparison and the final results are interesting, of course, but it was also more interesting primarily because all the three flagship SoCs in this battle were homegrown. They were made by either Apple, Huawei or Samsung. Three brands that have been vying for the #1 spot in the smartphone sales of the world. But as it stands, Apple's A12 Bionic still is the king when it comes to CPU and storage performance for sure, and the GPU performance is great too. While we saw a great benchmark number and a better GPU performance score for the Exynos 9820, I am concerned that it doesn't translate in real world performance, which we actually saw in Gamebench. Having said that, the 9820 inside the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus is definitely a generational leap compared to the Exynos 9810. So now, after this comparison, I really cannot wait for a Snapdragon 855 phone to reach our laps so that we can test the heck out of it. So that's it from me, Ershad from Mr. Phone. What did you guys think about the flagship SoC comparison? Do let us know in the comment section below. Until next time, goodbye.